Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, it's the only time in my life I can tell you no.
I just want to tell you a question. Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
That was the moment Tuesday night after 25 hours on the Senate floor, and Senator Cory Booker joins us now. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you feeling after all that?
I'm really feeling strong. There's a lot of challenges before this country right now, so I'm just grateful, especially yesterday, to stand in solidarity with millions of Americans who are just really determined, even though they themselves are tired, to keep fighting.
Let's talk about some of the issues that Americans were responding to, including, of course, the tariffs. You heard Kevin Hassett earlier in the program. He said there may be some increase in prices, but it's going to be worth it. Your response?
God bless Kevin, but I've never seen an administration in my lifetime do something so monumentally wrong and that so staggeringly hurts American people. I've been hearing all day yesterday from frightened Americans who've saved for their entire lives for retirement in the coming months, but now know they can't because in one fell swoop, Donald Trump has devastated their retirement accounts, their 401ks. I know millions of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck, who already in their administration have seen rising prices, even though he promised they would go down, rising inflation, even though he promised it would go down. And now they're bracing themselves for seeing their monthly bills go up because of what this president did, and that will devastate them. And this is all happening in the backdrop of what happened in the Senate this week, where they're pushing an extension of the Trump tax cuts that overwhelmingly went to the wealthiest of Americans. It's going to blow another multiple trillion-dollar hole in our deficit, but they're doing all of that, and they're going to pay for it by savaging Medicaid, which millions of Americans rely on to meet their financial challenges, to meet their health care challenges. And that is scary. I had a town hall yesterday where parents of disabled children, where parents that are taking care of their elders, all told awful stories that even a 5% cut in the services they get will send their families into chaos. And again, they asked why? Why? Because this president is pushing yet again a plan to gut basic services, to give bigger and bigger tax cuts to the wealthy. So the chaos he has unleashed on America, the financial insecurity that he has brought to people's lives, this is not what he promised people. And I think he will already go down for a president having the worst first 100 days in the last century of any president that's ever taken that office.
You also saw John Karl's piece about the president's retribution campaign. He promised to be the retribution during the campaign. We're seeing these moves against universities. We're seeing these moves against law firms. You took the Senate floor to protest. What should these law firms and universities do?
Well, first and foremost, you're calling it retribution, but it's something far worse than that. If you look around the world, from Viktor Orban to Vladimir Putin, this is not what democratic leaders do. This is really a violation of our constitutional principles, that he's using that power of that office not to advance noble causes that could help the American people, whether I disagree with them or not. That's what a president is called to do what they think is in the best interest of the public at large. What this president is instead doing is violating our constitutional principles, violating the fundamental rights of people in order to punish them to carry out his own retribution plan. John F. Kennedy famously said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Donald Trump is now saying, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for Donald Trump to make amends. He is trying to hurt people, to make them cower to him and offer him tribute in order to not violate the Constitution and hurt them economically. This is something that should not just be about a bunch of law firms. This is something that should ultimately be about Americans. And every American right now should be sitting back. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, and should ask yourself, when is it enough? When has he crossed my line when it comes to my love of this country? Is it bad enough that he's putting on the biggest tax on Americans that I've ever seen through these tariffs, which are taxes on Americans? Is that enough? Is it enough when he's threatening the health care of tens of millions of Americans, disabled children or elders? Is that enough? Is that crossing my line in order to pay for his tax cuts?
Until Americans rise up, are Democrats powerless to stop him?
Well, again, I've learned a lot about power from my ancestors, from my parents' generation, the civil rights generation, where the most powerful people in the land tried to violate the principles of our Constitution and hurt people. And yet, when Strom Thurmond and others tried to block the civil rights movement was passed by a rainbow coalition of people from all political perspectives that joined together and said enough is enough. We are not going to have this continued violations of decency, principle, and constitutional ideals happen. So we know the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And so whether it's Donald Trump, the most powerful man in the world, or Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, their power pales in comparison to the American people when we stand up, rise up, speak up, and say no more. And so this is not about the Democratic Party. I'm sorry. The Democratic Party is at its weakest when it's concerned about the party. It's at its strongest when it's concerned about the people, when it's bigger and broader than any narrow political analysis.
But you did say
this is a time for Americans to step up.
But you did say during your speech the Democrats have made some terrible mistakes and have to take responsibility, some responsibility for the state of the country right now. Elaborate on that. What were the mistakes? How can they be fixed?
Well, the biggest mistake is not centering people enough. A lot of people voted for Donald Trump because they trusted him and didn't trust that Democrats could deliver for them. And so this, to me, is one of the most important principles in American politics. You may have this great policy, great analysis, great thoughts and ideas, but people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. We are in a state where, again, the Democratic Party should own up. We partfully laid this pathway for this demagogue to come into office. And so the way we deal with that, the way we correct from those mistakes, is to do more of the centering of American voices, American people in our conversation and in our focus. Not focus on politics, focus on people. And right now, I wish you could have been at my town hall yesterday when you see veterans standing up and speaking to their anguish of knowing that their brothers and sisters are being fired from jobs, that their health care is being threatened, and that the VA, losing 80,000 people, is now weakening in its ability to rise to its commitments to our veterans. If you could have seen the parents standing up with one, I will never forget, with their autistic child who has severe anxiety but still decided to come and speak to the audience there and to talk about their health care being on the chopping block right now by a president who's told Congress to cut $880 billion. These are the people right now that are important, not the Democratic Party. It's the destiny of our country. And this is a time where Americans have to say this is not about party, it's about patriotism, it's about people, it's about the future of our nation and what's going to define us together.
Senator Booker, thanks for your time this morning.